After all these years, I know this like the back of my hand. Can't get that slide up. There you go. That's not it either.
Thank you. Dana Transportation operates two rail-to-truck transloading facilities in central Massachusetts in the towns of Upton and Oxford. It provides a total of 50 acres of railroad infrastructure, and I apologize. It's the first time I've given a presentation in 40 years, so I'll take a deep breath. You all probably recognize that. One of the things that I wanted to accomplish today is to differentiate between the current existing rail-to-truck transfer operations that are common in the industry versus what's required to have a large volume biodiesel type of transloading operation. And currently, the photo that you're looking at is the typical single transaction rail-to-truck transloading. The reason I call it a single transaction is you're looking at a transfer of an odorous commodity of styrene from this tank car to the tank truck. Things that, as a terminal operator, that we're concerned about would be the odorous nature of the product, so that we're not harming the neighbors, and also static electricity, as well as moisture, which is a big concern with customers. If you look at this, this particular slide, the reason I'll keep referring to the traditional single transaction type of transloading that's common in the industry is these are a list of the products that our two facilities are currently handling on a daily basis. It's a pretty extensive list. Because we operate a rail yard and we fall under Federal Railroad Administration regulations, we're technically not allowed to turn down anybody's business. So we end up with this large list of hazardous materials to handle. Going down the top of the list, if you look at asphalt, our employees have to be trained to handle this product, which transfers at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The next category of acids, we're talking products like sulfuric acid, nitric acid, hydrofluoric acid, commodities that require, again, extensive training for our employees to protect them during their jobs. Further down the list, you'll notice hazardous waste, which are commodities that we handle. Of course, they're regulated by the EPA, so we fall under their standards. Further at the bottom, you'll find kind of a wild card when it comes to the biodiesel industry, and that's the rail car heating. The reason I bring that up is there's a lot of discussion or concern with the biodiesel manufacturers that they're concerned about the length of time that it takes before a rail car gets to our facilities and the time that the product or commodity gets to the blenders or the refineries. And of course, the wild card is the steam heating of rail cars. Some shippers that we work with are real good about loading rail cars to a warm temperature in the low 100-degree Fahrenheit area. But other shippers aren't so concerned, and they'll ship product to us that arrives in the middle of the winter at 30 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It takes a long time to heat those cars up. The switching to the solution that we see to move large volumes of product like biofuel would be, in our opinion, is to split apart two portions of the transaction, one being the rail portion, the other part of the transaction being outbound trucks. So I would call this, I guess, our multi-transaction type of business. And if you look at the photo in the bottom right, we've actually had customers come to us and request that we set up a transloading system, an efficient, timely transload system to move large volumes of product. And what you're looking at in the bottom right is a, believe it or not, a wood pellet facility. And the customers approached us, and what we ended up having to do was install large bulk storage tanks. So what you're looking at here is storage silos that'll handle 10 rail cars at a time. So our rail crew is able to unload the rail cars at their own pace, separate from the fact that if you look at the other end of the building, trucks are coming in at an average pace of about, one truck every hour or so. And what happens is the truckers aren't affected by what's happening with the rail. And that's, up until this point, at least in New England, been a big concern. Been a lot of debate at the Nephi Association about reasons why, biodiesel doesn't get through rail yards in an efficient manner. We'd go so far as to say, it's actually a very doable project, but it reminds me a lot of the heating oil business, where if you look at this photo here, these truckers aren't held captive by anything that's happening to the operation in the background, like barges or ships that are bringing product in and getting stored in the large capacity storage tanks. So again, separating the two functions would allow the biodiesel industry the opportunity to move large volumes into New England. The photo that you're looking at here, we've actually already had or have designs in place to do exactly what the folks here in this room require to move large volumes into New England. You'll see on the left side of the photo, conceptually large storage tanks that would allow rail cars to come in, be heated and transferred into the storage tanks, and then the outbound trucks would be able to load out based on their own schedule. One of the big concerns, at least in the New England market, is the fact that we are very limited in rail infrastructure. This photo shows the last remaining CSX rail yard located in Boston. You can see the Boston skyline in the background. But basically, the state of Massachusetts paid CSX, $100 million to basically get out of town, and therefore leaving the freight shipping public without the infrastructure to move commodities. One of the areas that we hear the biodiesel shipping public concerned with is the cost of not only transloading product from rail to truck, but also local trucking. We estimate on industry norms that it costs about 10 cents per gallon for that final section of rail to truck transportation. And of course, any discussion about bulk storage costs would be in addition to that. Finally, in conclusion, bulk storage is very doable. We see it as a cooperative effort required by all parties. It involves open discussion, long-term capital investment, as well as a lengthy permitting process. Thank you.